Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Gatekeepers Grove for what's going to be our final part of A Shift in Time. I'm recording this a few weeks after the journey to the cap, so please bear with me if I repeat something. I just wanted to give myself a bit of time to play around with the build and settle into it, so I'm not sort of stopping at every turn and pressing wrong keys and that kind of thing. So I've got it reasonably settled now where I want it, I think. Quick look then at where we're at with everything. I'm presuming that in the last one, because we did Shan, didn't we? I'll have shown all this anyway. So we're tier 5 in Magus, so we've got the spell DCs, we've got the time stop, which I'm pretty sure now you have to be next to it. That little bloom effect that sort of goes out there like a mini explosion, they have to be in the radius of that to get the time stop on them. So you have to go next to the boss, I think. I think that's how it works. I think we saw that in the Cogs quest, didn't we? The one with all the Forge race. I seem to, more by luck than judgment, get it right in there, and the boss just got annihilated, didn't it? The Moonlance, very happy with how this has turned out. It's a decent crowd controller as well as damage dealer, and it's the only reason that I'm not using the otherwise excellent Salt Ray on this build, because it's kind of doing the same thing but packing a hell of a punch as well. Also we have AoE crowd control in the form of Glacial and Colour Spray on reasonably short cooldowns. So Salt Ray would perhaps have been overkill, although that's on a tremendously short cooldown. The only downside is it doesn't work on Reapers. But otherwise, quite pleasing. The Comet hits reasonably hard, but is on quite a long cooldown, sort of comparable with the Ruins. I guess this is our equivalent of a Ruin. Of course, being in tier 5 in Magus locks us out of taking Ruins, and you might notice with some surprise here, I haven't even got Draconic selected. I have to, really, with my build, I have to be in Primal or Shadow Dancer to get evasion, because it's kind of built around light armor and evasion. So I have to either take evasion from here in Primal or from the third core in Shadow, which leaves me only one other option open. And being as I solo quite a lot, I find I need the survivability that the wings from the third core of Exalted gives me against the likes of Doom Reapers and End Bosses. I'm finding that's the difference between being annihilated and just getting the breathing space to chip away at them and eventually kill them. I say chip away because I'm not doing huge damage. We don't have Ruins here, although our Moonlance and Comet hit for respectable damage. I don't have too much to back them up, so not the biggest of big damage, but still between the CC and the AoE we managed to get through. So as you can see here, I've got because I've got lots of destiny points here. This is my main character. Managed to get the fourth core in all three, which is pretty crazy. I'm guessing before too long people are going to start complaining that they don't have meaningful things to spend destiny points on. It's not the case here. If I had a few more to spend, I could get something like 10 extra positive and universal spell power in here, which wouldn't be bad. And there's some other things I've had to sacrifice as well. There's 10 more universal power and lowering the cost of enlarge. I've had to jiggle a little bit, but that fourth core is quite nice for us. The wings also give a heal to us, and if we happen to be grouping to anybody nearby as well, so that's nice. So yeah, quite happy with the way that's ended up. Probably better in a group than for soloing, really, because we don't have the out and out damage. But with not having Ruins and having the Primal Mantle, that does make us a lot less thirsty on the spell points, and having Evergreen, of course, as well helps a lot with that. Just to reiterate, the Draconic Mantle is easily, damage-wise, the best that you could be in as a caster. That has 4 ticks when it triggers of damage, whereas the Primal one is only 1, and it's only a chance, I think, to get 1. although it does trigger on both electric and cold, so that's nice to have. I think the draconic triggered on everything, so that's not really a point in favour. One thing I will mention about not being in the draconic, the number of times I've exploded by accident a fail reaper. Yeah, that's about right. A vengeance reaper. I've failed miserably because I've tried to hold it with the colour spray, and colour spray is classed as an offensive spell, so carries the ticking damage over time from the draconic mantle. So the number of times I've blown up a vengeance and blown myself up by consequence. So it's very nice on that score as a solo not to have that, to be able to control the vengeance to one side for as long as needed, and then dispose of him last as is supposed. Okay, so enhancements, I'm pretty sure we'll have seen this anyway, just a quick look over. So 41 Seasons Herald, backed up with the Fey Dark. I had experimented with 20 odd in Falconry for the extra helpless damage, but I find where we need the help is not particularly against the rank and file stuff, the trash as it's known. It's more against the bosses, and the extra helpless damage, unless we are using our 10 seconds of where is it? This thing here, time stop. It's not going to help us. So I ended up leaving our investment in Fey Dark. It's just a very good fit with the build. More force and universal power. More force, crit chance. Just nice things to have. More wisdom. And of course our investment in Vistani for the deflect arrows. Now the purists would say I should have taken Storm Rage to get that same effect. But me being me, I would forget, of course, to trigger it on, and it's only, 18 seconds of duration. So I prefer to have it always on, and then we get the benefit all the time. I don't have to think about that. One thing less to fail at. And then the balance, we're in Nature's Warrior for the Nature's Protector, for the defensive benefits we can have in there. We have hit the cap, I think, for MRR. Yeah, we're at I think 100 is normally the cap. We have a 10 extra from somewhere. I think it might be a set bonus. Is it from? Might be something to do with the autumn set bonus. I can't remember if I had a look at we probably had a look at the gear in the Shan episode, so I won't dwell too long on it. It's fairly standard stuff. 7 pieces of Feywild Autumn, rounded out with bits and pieces of other stuff as I've been able to collect it. So we've got a Dino bracer there, basically there just for the force crit damage. These boots from the legendary Green Steel are taking care of the cold crit damage. Now the really good thing about these, if you don't like raiding, you can totally get yourself almost the same effect, 30% extra crit damage with your chosen element by running the 2 quests down there in Meridia, the Curse the Sky and what's the other one, Creeping Death, and they will drop the ingredients you need to upgrade your boots from or whatever item you've got from the bog standard to 30% extra. So it's just the 5% on top, at the bottom there, the quality bonus that you would need raid ingredients from, which is kind of neither here nor there unless you're an avid min-maxer. And I think we've got a Slave Lord's belt there just for the little bits we were missing, extra little bits and pieces. Oh, and the shield is quite nice. Now that is a raid shield, but it's a small shield, by the way, because otherwise we couldn't use our evasion. But if you happen not to like raiding, but you have people you can ask around, because these things are not bound, so they only bind to character on equip, so they can be passed or traded in the auction house, whatever. So you could ask around, as I did actually for this one back in the day, and somebody was kind enough to drop one for me. Okay, so that's the gear. Have a look where we stand with the stats. So wisdom wise, when I'm doing my tryharding with a potion, Yugoloth potion and all the rest of the stuff in Reaper, I think I can get to 108, which for me is really, really good. And of course it means we have a terrific will save. The others are not amazing, but they do go up in Reaper. And the reflex one in particular, because I've invested all the Reaper, the extra Reaper saves into that. Armor class, as you can see, will get the odd miss, I'm sure, from trash, but against bosses he's just going to get clattered like everybody else does. The spell powers outside of Reaper, so we're just a little bit under 1,000 with the cold, and the crit chance 2 in 3, not terrible. The crit multiplier for the cold is quite nice too, and the other one, the other big one we're looking at is the force, so that's not bad either. 909, 56 and 90. So we've done reasonably well with the gear. We could certainly do better. A popular caster approach would be to have the two-piece elders set, and then the two rings. What they call the electric and the cold one from the Canith raids. I think that would be a popular way to go. I just never got around to changing with that. Let's just take a moment to mention the basic sort of strategy. Don't be, if you're considering trying a druid or a caster in general, don't be put off by all the rubbish I've put here. A lot of it is just to, click once and forget about. There's a whole line and a half here of just buffs that we click once and forget about. 2 lines, in fact. Other stuff's just there, for occasional use. There are only really a handful of things, as I hope to illustrate during the quest, that we use regularly. So basic strategy, if things are far away, because obviously we have enlarge on this build, what I refer to as preparing the opponents. Ice Storm to reduce opponent reflex saves in conjunction with, where is it? With our Mantle of the Icy Soul there, you can see targets of the cold spells. This is just really, really good for us. 25% penalty to movement, penalty to attack speed, and a penalty to reflex and fort saves. So if we open with that, it's just a nice slowdown anyway to make them stay in the area roughly for our follow-ups. Then typically I go with the Earthquake to get them on the floor. All this from mega distance away. Then I just throw the 2 sunbursts in because we can, to try and get some blinded targets. And if I'm really feeling like it, I'll throw an additional Grasping Thorns in for even more crowd control. This one was added to the standard Druid list when the Blightcaster got released. I'm particularly partial to it, although I use it only sparingly because the Earthquake is my go-to. You'll notice it's on a transmutation. It's kind of our second thing because of the Ice Flower spam, but it is on a transmutation DC, so it's not quite as strong, but still reasonable in Reaper. So yeah, that would be our opening, our crowd control-y stuff. And then when we close with the opponents, I'll go even more crowd control. Burst of Glacial, which causes helpless. Follow up with the big Tsunami. If I need to stop Reapers, the only Reaper stopper I've got is the Greater Colour Spray. Now that works nicely on everything except for the Despair. He often saves against it, so we just have to damage him down when he pops up. Speaking of which, that's my anti-Reaper device, the Word of Balance, on a nice short cooldown. And the standard stuff on the bar, so I've got my Shard Storm from Primal, so we've gone defensive rather than offensive. I did experiment with Thunder Snow, like an electrical attack, but I found that to be somewhat underwhelming. So I've got used to just triggering this when we need some temp hit points when we're in combat. And it does give a little bit of damage too, so I'm preferring that for the epic options we've got. Moonlance has been excellent. I can't say enough about that. Heavy damage, short cooldown, great crowd control. I think it's on about a mid 120s in Reaper, which is more than enough to no fail CC most things, but of course it doesn't work on Reapers. Ice flowers, that's your default spam button for when we've already triggered tsunami. It's on cooldown and we want to finish a pack of things off. Zero comet against the nasty opponents, or just against a single target opponent that we want to finish off. The 2 lightning storms against a big group of respawning stuff, or against a boss, quite nice. I underuse them, to be honest, but they don't travel with you, unlike the core lightning storm, so there is that to bear in mind. Now, the 2 things I need to be, actually there are 3 things I need to be mindful of, to be doing regularly, and I've had to try and get used to this. You've had a flavour of it leading up to this. The flicking on and off of the rage, and of course changing the weapon as well to the Blood Feast filigree one as I'm doing that. If you haven't followed the series up to now, the Blood Feast, 5 pieces of that. Whenever you trigger a rage, you get your epic and legendary levels in temporary hit points. So in our case, we've got 14 of those. So we're getting this buffer of 1400 temp hit points. Oh, it would help if I had the...
Get out there and finish the job, soldier.
And then I have to remember, of course, to trigger to replace our weapon. So it's a bit fiddly, but look at that. Nice little barrier, and we've gone from sort of caster hit points to some kind of a respectable melee defense there. So not bad at all. Then if you factor in the other defenses we've got, this is another thing I don't do often enough. Winter's Heart, a minute's cooldown, but look at that, look how far up we've got. And then with the Shard Storm as well, almost 5,000. So that is a really significant layer of temporary hit point defense. But I have to remember to use these things, otherwise it obviously counts for nothing. I'm beginning to get there, not with everything and not all the time, but you can see there the difference it makes. Because things like Dooms, they don't mess about when they're coming for you with the 1,000, 2,000 hit point shots. So it's the difference between Soulstone time and living to fight another day. Between that and the wings, I can't say enough about these. If you haven't tried them, I suggest you experiment with them if survivability is a problem in the legendary content. Just gives you that little bit of breathing space to be able to beat down a nasty target. If you happen to be a caster, of course. If you're a melee, you don't quite have that luxury. I think you have to have different sources of defense then. Things like this Hood of Unrest for the crazy dodge boost and uncanny dodge spring to mind. So the other one of you's already mentioned in recent comments about this. Swapping the weapons again to cast Core Lightning Storm, and it's a dino weapon I've created. I'm not going to labour too much on the ins and outs of it, but on that weapon, for the duration of that Lightning Storm spell, which is a minute and a half, a little bit more, we've got the chance to trigger 1,000 temporary hit points. That's on top of the ones I've just shown you there. That's an effect known as Legendary Affirmation. You'll see that pop up hopefully when it triggers. Can only trigger once a minute, but that means we might be lucky enough to get 2 of it during one lightning storm. So that should be going when we're in combat as often as I can. The other thing that does, because you can create some really nice effects with using this dino crafting. We can stack up vulnerability on end boss targets using those lightning strikes, which is nice too. So we're giving ourselves a layer of defense with extra hit points and making them more vulnerable. Bearing in mind our Moonlands, if I can just show you the right one. I think it's that one. Yes. We gain a bit of spell power, but the important thing there is it applies 5 stacks of vulnerable to the target. So that's in addition to whatever this lightning storm would apply, and in addition also to the my standard approach when faced with a really nasty thing. Hit the freezing spray. You can see there, target takes 25% extra damage from all sources of cold, and then the ticking cold dots, and then follow up with whatever big cold things I have off cooldown. So the things stack up, especially if I put the time stop on for that 10 seconds of craziness. But we'd really need a group for people to chime in and just hammer something with that. Okay, so yes, trying to remember the Winter Heart, trying to remember to recast the Lightning Storm, and to keep those temp hit points up. Just keep an eye. You see I think they last for up to 10 minutes, the ones that I trigger with the Rage. And the Rages do regenerate every minute and a half. I've never known myself to run out of Rages in a quest, so I need to be using and abusing that mechanic as much as possible. And then yes, the standard stuff for the bosses. Open with the freezing spray and get the damage over time ticking, and then the big attacks, the Moonlance and the Zero Comet. Try and do it that way, and the Lightning Storm as well, and try and kite it round there. Heal wise, we've got 3 on the bar. The amazing heal spell outside of Reaper, you can see that's just ridiculous. So that would pretty much heal anybody to full if I was targeting it at somebody else. And then we've got the Regenerate Mass and Greater Vigor Mass. Of course I'm only putting them on myself, but I keep the Mass versions on the bar for the times when he goes in groups, and I can hopefully make good use of those. I think the Druid, as far as I know, is the only one who gets this type of decent AoE natively, like not from a Epic Destiny or something. I think the Cleric goes as far as Cure Serious Mass, don't they? But the Heal Mass is takes 3 hours to cast, and the Cure Serious Mass is only 1 tick, isn't it? Whereas these things tick. Now somebody showed me something interesting recently. These Greater Vigors, apparently if you keep casting it, the time stacks up, or it should do. Yeah, look there. So sometimes I've seen people going into quests, look, with nearly a minute of Greater Vigor there, and just stacking up the thing all the time. And we've gone into raids with 4 minutes of this Greater Vigor. Now, I didn't know about this. It's not doing it every time, is it? But you can see we're up to over a minute there. I don't know why it doesn't stack every time, but it's a nice thing to have. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be trying doing. Crowd control where possible from a distance. Finish off with our up close and personal Glacial Wrath and Tsunami and Ice Flower. And against the boss we need to be doing Moonlance, Comet, and our vulnerability and the ticking damages. Try and do it that way. I thought we'd go for, well, I guess it's unquestionably the softest legendary content in the game, but given the difficulty I'm going to try and show, I think it's justifiable. Don't be lulled into thinking if you can do this on X level you can do everything. It's totally not the case. I think fools can have a go at this kind of stuff on Reaper 8 and maybe do reasonably, I hope. But if he tried that in Mythdrano, there would only be one result. Those of you who've tried the Mythdrano content could, I'm sure, attest to that.
This caravan has been looted and ripped to pieces. Judging from the debris, this happened quite recently.
So we're going to try and go through the 4 quests in here. Try and make it through reasonably unmolested, but my main goal is to try and show you how the thing plays and what potential it has. So, well, we can see now, can't we, in Reaper? So you can see the saves are relatively deep. 80s is not amazing by any stretch, but it should. 89. We haven't quite finished yet either, have we? I think we get a little bit of an extra boost to that. But wisdom over the hundreds in Reaper, and the spell DCs for the big spells into the 120s. That's before I've done any buffs. So pretty nice overall. Fortification obviously as a water elemental, very strong. Buffs, so we get Death Ward, we get freedom of movement, all the energy ones. That's a nice one. Elemental toughness for extra PRR. As you can see there, we've gone up from 194 to 214. So that's PRR per Druid level. Our Mantle of the Icy Soul, so we don't have any problem with enemy immunities to our damage. Jump, nice to have. Potion of Spell Power for a little bit more spell power. So we can see in Reaper our spell power's jumped up to the 1050 for cold now. So not terrible. And then we've got this Yugoloth potion to boost the wisdom. And of course when we hit the rage,
Get out there and finish the job,
you can see we're up to 108 wisdom now. So pretty crazy stuff. Look at the wisdom the will save. And with greater heroism we do a bit higher. So we're into the 90s, albeit we've cheated. Okay, so as mentioned, put the lightning on. We've already got the 10 hit points on from the Potion of Freeze from the portable hole. Winter's Heart, more temporary hit points.
It's time for you to figure out just what that is.
I was just about to say, let's hope for no Doom Reaper. And straight out of the gate there's a Doom Reaper, oh my god. You're going to see the utility of the wings here. Throwing everything I can at him. Actually, I think there's a bit of a bug. Is he coming? Oh no, he's coming. Okay, so we managed to avoid him. I made a mistake. I made several mistakes, but I didn't put the word of balance against him, against Reapers, especially him. I should have been hammering him with that. Let's try not to let that stress us too much. So whenever there's a Reaper of any description, I'll throw in the colour spray, because that's all I've got to hold them. Sorry, I should say any description apart from a Doom or a Despair, which I can't really do a lot about. You can see the slowing effect there, very nice. That's the Grasping Thorns. I just threw that in there because I could. Really like that one, the effect. That was the comet coming down from on high. Trying to renew the lightning storm thing. How are we doing for temp HP? We need some more.
It's time to go now. Pull away your anchor.
Sorry about that. That's the old sentient gem that I wasn't bothered for changing. So we've got a Fear Reaper at the back there we need to be mindful of, try and get rid of. I tried, I don't know whether I was successful. I'm using the Finger of Death sparingly. I do have a half decent, what is that, 106 in Reaper save on it, but I'm finding a lot of things, including these miserable little scorpions, are saving regularly. Took a big shot there. Mindful of that vengeance at the back, trying to keep it in check until the rest of the stuff's gone, and I think we did a decent job of that there. Okay.
Thick clanking can be heard echoing down the hallway.
These things we can try and get rid of half from distance maybe, but we've got some... Oh, silly boy. That drone's gonna kill us if we're not careful. Come on, and again. Yeah. We just munched that soul. Where is it? I think I probably cost myself a ton of mana by messing about with the spells earlier, but it's very, very forgiving with the evergreen mantle. So I would be surprised in these quests if we ran out of mana, unless something really crazy happens. So again, topping up the temp hit points. So we have multiple sources of helpless on the build, as mentioned before. The Moonlands here, this thing causes helpless, and multiple Reapers apparently. The cold, what's it called? Burst of Glacial also causes helpless. And also our Greater Colour Spray, all of which lead to bonus damage then on the targets. Okay, try and put a defense up here.
With metal claws on stone coming from the area ahead. Sparks fly from the eyes of the mechanical guard.
Now, I'm going to try and prep this guy first and then do the time stop. Okay, there we go. So big attack scene. I think we did okay with that. The only thing with the ice flowers I struggle with against targets moving around all over the place that I can't hold. I have trouble, sometimes they move out of the AoE and I have trouble spamming them down using it, but that was pretty decent I think. Okay.
The air grows warm here, where the light streams in from above the stone circle. A single massive apple rests on the ground beside
I think when you're half the time when you're ramping up the difficulty a bit, one of the problems you run into, you're a little bit in the lap of the gods as to what turns up when. If you get like a vengeance and or a doom turn up in the boss fight, it's just gonna be really, really rotten times. This is probably quite a decent example of an area that was fairly underused, let's say, which just had a couple of level 3 quests, was it, that they breathed quite a bit of life into. We were talking about this in the comments a while back, weren't we, in one of them. They breathed quite a bit of life by putting the gatekeeper chain in. They could do that with some of the other, I think Ataraxia was one that was mentioned. And what's that other one that you just go to get a bargain of blood, basically? I can't remember what it's called, but those of you who know that you'll know. That could use a bit of love as well. I think it's got the promise of fire in there now, hasn't it? But not a lot else as far as I remember.
Now, point me toward the enemy.
The old woman
Yeah,
rattles
these
on,
scorpions can be
thoughts
really
clouded by
filthy.
some terrible experience. But suddenly, a shadow passes over her face.
The garden! The garden!
She gasps.
Watch where you point me, soldier. I bite.
I've tried to arrange the things on the bar in such a way that it reminds me to trigger one thing that should be triggered at the same time as some of the other things I'm doing. Stop him, thank you. Oh, where did you come from? That was a nice little instant kill there. Oops, wrong key pressed, because if you'll notice that's on number 0. I have to take my fingers off some of the keys to reach it. Hence why the finger of death is not used too often. As stupid as it sounds, I try to group up the things I use most often in and around the ASDF movement keys. So I've got my word of balance and my crowd control-y stuff, and the big AoE stuff, burst of glacial, tsunami, and greater colour spray. Oh, this could be problematic. No, I haven't seen what... Oh, I suspect from that explosion that was a vengeance in there that just blew up. So that's not good. It looks like the rest of them have gone too, so that was lucky. I do have a little item I can swap to... Oh, was there something... Oh my god! Why did you guys not trigger when you were supposed to? Did you see that there? 2,000 damage?
Retreat!
Of course, self-healing in the upper difficulties is distinctly penalised. How on earth are we still alive? Okay, I did my best to make a mess of that. Oof. I thought they'd all appeared, that lot. Clearly not. Now, one thing I was pleased with there, you can see the temp hit points. I did remember to try and trigger some more as we were fighting for our life there. Generally, the hit point bar, if I'm on a good run, doesn't move too much because we're usually in a decent surplus. So even taking hits, it gets absorbed by that surplus. But so as soon as you see it gets chunked down into the red, that's when it's alarm bells time. So as mentioned, I have a nice little item to swap into. Need to remember to turn off the rage. I can't do any sort of thiefy stuff, any searching, all that kind of stuff while the rage is going on. And then to swap back the trinket.
Good, good. You'll do.
Right, can this be just a little bit less eventful down here, please. Let's put some...
We see signs that some monsters have taken up residence in this musty system. They spring from the dirt.
oh. Want to target that famine. And the fear at the back I could do with hitting as well. Oh, he did me a favour by coming to me. Lovely. Okay.
You emerge into the hot air.
Now, these birds, they can really be painful. I just don't like them at all.
Use the scythe to cut down the bamboo that is sprung up around the back porch.
Try and predict when they're going to charge out. Oh! See there, 600 odd damage.
His cold voice sounds familiar. Come here, a little bit farther.
Come on then. Yeah, anytime there's a single target, my go-to is always the Moonlance. Get it stopped in its tracks and take a big chunk of damage out. That was the Moonlance and then the Comet on the other one. Well, that was a bit of a fail. I don't think the tsunami had any effect on those, did it? I think there's a bit of a... either a big cooldown. I think it was a cooldown issue. Everything I was trying was on cooldown. So we don't blame the lag for your own inadequacies.
Overgrown shrubbery leads you into.
Do you remember, Lily?
The voice.
Right, let's try and get everything ready for this. 10 pit points up.
They notice that something about her seems wrong. Unhinged even. Briar screams as the bird descends.
Get the
upon
lightning
Rosemary
thing
and
going as
sings.
well when we are closer to it.
Songs are mine now, Rose!
Lily says.
You'll all see. My voice will shake the world!
So all of those lightning should hopefully give vulnerability on the target. I got the time stop in there.
And now, you want my song? Come and get them!
Blinded and enraged, the phantom lunges forth.
I think that was pretty good. We don't want to get savaged by these birds though, that is not what we want. Couple of little targeting issues, but no, that was all right.
Sending a sharp pain to your skull. Soon she
Take that.
dissolves into a thin mist.
I think we used the time stop reasonably well there.
You found Rosemary's songbook, but most of the pages are torn and missing. Perhaps there is something else nearby that can deliver a song back to the Gatekeepers.
A nice
You
little
realize
trinket
that
for the
Rosemary's
Pale
parent
Master
has
maybe.
learned to repeat parts of her songs. With the bird in tow, you can finally return to the Gatekeepers and leave this cursed place behind you.
2 down, 2 to go. I can't quite believe we got through that mess with the spiders without dying horribly in there. I think that certainly without the 10 pit point things that would easily have been a death. For those of you unfamiliar with the higher levels and the effects on the players, casters in particular suffer a real penalty to damage output the higher up you go. I think for Reaper 8, you're only doing 18% of your damage output, and then for 10 you're going down to only 10%. So the effect of that is that the spell points then take quite a battering, because you're having to cast a lot more to get the same results. Come on, hit him.
You've arrived at the main shaft of the abandoned mine. Security constructs shuffle around nearby.
So Fireshield cold, invulnerable against all these fire opponents.
Above the lever reads, "Entry to mine UA is
Leading with the ice storm again to get the reflex saves down. And of course, as they're all fire creatures, we are in our element here. There is an argument for saying I should have grown a pair and put Reaper 10 for this one. Press the wrong key there with the colour spray, so hopefully no Reapers will pop up here. So that's all burst of glacial to make them helpless, followed by tsunami. And because they are vulnerable to our damage anyway, and helpless, they're taking a battering when we put the tsunami in there. If only every quest in the game was so simple.
A nearby Caneth crystal hums with magical energy. It's connected to a barrier that blocks the path forward.
So keeping the lightning going to get the vulnerability on the target. And I think I'm going to do these as well. Time stop. Trying. Oh, the time stop is still on cooldown. That was a major misplay. The Radiant Force Field effect, amazing defense. It's from the legendary green steel boots. Now that does need the raid to it's quite a bit of raiding ingredients to... Oh, Reaper bonus on the gear there. Quite a bit of raiding needed to get the... It's a one-time use. It's only 20 seconds, so unless you're really considering pushing things, you can very likely manage without that kind of thing.
The old mine here has long
Just
since
nice to
collapsed.
trigger against bosses and that kind of thing.
One too many times.
Crikey, we got hit by a level... What level are these things? Level 2. We're level 34 and we're getting annihilated. Right then, we'll call this one a date with Destiny, because the last boss in this is arguably the most difficult that we will have faced. He hurts, and he's got range as well. Do we need that? Yes.
I've done my part. Get out there and finish the job, soldier.
Lightning on again.
The local orcs have transformed this cave into a shrine. Something glimmers nearby. It must be one of the visions revealed by the Gatekeeper's spell. A groan from the nearby cot shows that this orc elder is alive, though not in any condition to receive guests.
Still trying to target the plague. Finally managed to get to him. Okay, so if in doubt on any cold druid build, just spam ice flowers. You can't really go too badly wrong. Despair, I don't think we can hold him. We're going to try and hold up the rest of this traffic in here. But the Despair, if you didn't know, boosts the saves of all the things around it, which is why these guys are coming through now. Come on. Oh, we did manage to stop him with the colour spray. Now that's quite an achievement against the Despair. They have very high saves. What do we have there? 112, so not terrible. But certainly not bad or that kind of thing-esque. Can we get these birds while that vengeance is sleeping? Please. We're in trouble here, triggering some temp HPs. Now then. Okay, we're good. Boom. Oh, you're joking. You're joking. Did anybody see a circle down there? Because I certainly didn't. And did you see how much damage it did? 11,000. Wow. Oh, that's just ridiculous. I definitely didn't see a circle there. So that's, I think that's the opponent's cheating. That's really sour grapes on their part. Is there a shrine in here? Or is it in the next room, in fact? Now then. That's completely thrown me as that. We were supposed to go up the... Hang on. Oh, we can see that we've come past some... Oh no, these are shrines going forward, aren't they? Ah, I'm going to have to cheat. Well, they cheated, so we're going to cheat too. We're going to use the gibbers. Summon our druid here. Get brought back to life that way. Yeah, it would never hurt if you're soloing, especially if you're pushing the levels, to have a rezzing hireling parked at the start of the quest. I think that would be fairly standard for plenty of people to do, unless you're going in a group. But yeah, that's a sore one. That we totally had that. I deliberately didn't move because I couldn't see any. There was no circle or anything like that. I was going to have him. He was the last one there. He was going to die comfortably, and then 11,000 damage. Wham bam, thank you. So yeah, a bit disappointed there. I don't think we can say it was too much our fault. Just one of those things. I think even the toughest of tanks would have struggled against that shot. Does it say actually? Maybe it was some kind of death effect and we rolled a 1. I don't know. You were killed by misadventure. I think that suggests one of those circles, doesn't it? Sometimes it'll say if there was a save. I can't see all. Never mind. Okay, bring us back to life and let's put an end to this sorry charade. Like today. Oh, they can't do it when they're... yeah, for some reason, when the hireling is asked to stand in a single spot, they won't do their magic. Okay. We've got 2 death penalties. Need to remember to redo our elemental form. That's one thing to mention. Your elemental form gets knocked off for some reason when you die. So if you happen to be back on the gibbers and desperately trying to complete a quest, try and remember to retoggle that on, otherwise you won't be able to use your special spells which relate to that form, which in our case are ice flowers and I think maybe tsunami as well. No, just ice flowers, is it, that needs elemental form? No, we need freezing spray as well, has elemental form as a requirement. What did you bring us back as? We're an orc. A brutish orc. Hell-bent on vengeance. Okay, so here we can take the shortcut through. We can invis ourselves, cast bears and bulls, and there's always one way that we can go to be unmolested here.
A screen blocks your path, decorated with masks and totems. To your surprise, one of the totems...
Okay, Doom Reaper down there. Now I haven't... Oh, in fact there's... God knows how many. Oh, look at all that. Now there's two ways this could go. I think the best thing for me to do here is to wait until the lightning effect wears off, so we don't attract anything that we don't want to. And then I'm going to try and jump across here and leave these guys to their own devices at the bottom. The problem we have with that is this famine here. I don't think he's going to be too interested in allowing us to do that. But if I engage the famine, I'm pretty sure the doom and everything, the dooms, plural, they're all going to come joining in. So I guess we have to hope that if we can make it up to the top, they won't teleport up there. That's what I'm going to try and do. Obviously invisibility doesn't work on Reapers, they all have true sight. I'm just going to have to cross our fingers and hope for the best here. If they come up, and we just get annihilated. Oh, I pressed the wrong key. Oh, that's really bad. I pressed the time stop by accident, which of course means now we don't have it on this very dangerous boss. However, on the plus side, we do seem to have left all that rubbish behind us. Because there's no way I would have been able to take on two dooms. I'm just going to wait a second in case that famine decides he wants to come in. Now, do check when you come in here. There can be Reapers sort of lining the back walls. There aren't any that I can see here. They look to be all in that last room. But as we have distance, we have enlarged, we could have taken them down without attracting the boss. I suspect that famine might pop up in the middle of the boss fight, which won't be overly helpful to us, but better that than two dooms. So making vulnerable to cold to start with. Remembering to trigger the... is he not coming down? Yeah. Triggering the lightning. Try and kite him around down here. So I don't have a time stop to use against him, sadly. But you'll see plenty of purple numbers. We've got vulnerability on him anyway. Now if he continues to just mess around like that, I'm going to be delighted, because anytime he comes near us, it's going to be the old minus 1,000 job. I think we've got some lag here, which is helping us. Maybe this is karma for the old the old 11,000 hit point invisible circle job. Putting the ticking things back on him again. No, this is totally out of order. He should be chasing us ragged and firing shots. He's just bugged out here. But you can see he's taking plenty of defeating. See, 600, that was a mild hit for him. Normally it would be 1,000 plus. So that's a bit disappointing. Oh, there's some more birds, okay. And oh, our Famine Reaper did finally materialise, okay. The old word of balance. I've mentioned it throughout this series. Word of balance against the Reapers. You really can't go wrong.
Was sent to retrieve the skull of an orc elder.
Okay, well that was a topsy-turvy old quest, wasn't it? I don't really know what to say about that. We totally cheated the end, but I think it kind of balanced out because they totally cheated us in the middle. What the hell, game? There's no way we should have been stuffed by that vengeance the way we were. It's just one of those things. Actually, that's quite amusing in a sense, that, because the end that I had recorded that you never saw because the devs changed the game before we could get to the end of the Artificer series, the level 30 odd episode I had recorded with Red ended something like that, with a Reaper just coming through an unopened door just as I was triggering an action boost, so I was completely helpless. The damn thing ate me, and then I spent 15-20 minutes just ending up the episode like that with this thing standing over Red's soulstone. So it just reminded me of that, the way those two things popped up there. I guess that's an illustration as well of the path of least resistance whenever you can manage it. And of course of the usefulness again of the wings for avoiding confrontation in delicate areas. Okay, I think that's about all I had to show you. I won't say I did it impeccably, because I certainly made a truckload of errors, but I do think I did what I set out to do, which is to show you the kind of approach I've got when possible, opening with the crowd control, just to get them more malleable and not firing, all over at me, because as you've seen, most hits are sort of in the realm of 500 to 1,000, so that stacks up very quickly. The Glacial followed by Tsunami, very effective. Colour Spray for Reapers, and then the Moonlance and Word of Balance. I think, yeah, and trying to remember not to press the time stop by accident, and to trigger it against the end bosses. I did at least one example of that. I think one decent example against the ghost there with the pile of scarecrows and ravens. I think we did okay. So, yeah, I quite like it. Obviously, that something like Time Stop plays superbly in a group. If you're going in a raid and hitting that when the end boss is being beaten down, that's going to be amazingly successful when you've got melees hasted, just hammering away tens of thousands of damage at a time. So, yeah, but even solo, it's, as I mentioned, it kind of happened as an accident, this business with the Ragers. I planned to try the shifter anyway, just because I'd always done Dragonborn and I wanted to try. And as a result of this business with the Ragers, I think we've been seriously more survivable, to the extent that it's probably allowed me to push a bit higher than I normally would be comfortable with. So that's been good too, just to try. I think that's kind of the order of the day, isn't it, for most of the folks who are attempting the the higher Reaper stuff, just because the temporary hit points are never subject to the Reaper nerf, and you can, to be able to just flash, 1500 hit points onto your total when danger strikes is such a big advantage. I mean, add to that we've got some extra DCs as well, being a wisdom in the tree, which the Dragonborn doesn't have. So I think it's fair to say that both this and the dragon favour those who have plenty of racial points to splash. Probably more so the dragon, because you really need to be investing, maybe 20 plus points in there to be getting the really good stuff, the caster and max caster at the top of the tree there. But in our case, maybe a bit less. We didn't have to take some of this stuff. I think the main stuff was the stuff down here, wasn't it? Extra rages, regenerating rage, wisdom. In fact... Oh, and longer lasting rages is nice. Yeah, if you have a choice of the two and you don't have too many racial points, I'd definitely go for Shifter over Dragonborn, because you can get a lot of the good stuff. I mean, just the shift on its own is 4 wisdom, 4 dex, and a couple of con from the tree. But 4 wisdom and 4 dex is not dependent on tree investment, so we could have just we could have got away with nothing in the racial tree and still done very nicely as a shifter. We could still have dealt with all this temp hit point business. So yeah, I think that would be my recommendation. If you fancy trying a druid, this wild what's it called, Wild Hunt Shifter is definitely a good candidate for the job. Thanks as always for looking, and if you've made it this far. If you haven't tried the class before, I have. It's probably the one I've most played at the cap. I wouldn't recommend it as too much as a leveling build. I'm not saying there's anything wrong once they get going. Once you get your AoE stuff going, it's fine, like any caster really. But there are better options for leveling. But at the cap, it's probably easily the most versatile and survivable build I've played. You've got everything you need there. They've got the AoE, crowd control, AoE damage. You've got prodigious heals. And now we've added this temporary hit point business to that, which I wasn't really making use of in the past. Even if you're not doing the messing about with the sticks and getting the rage to trigger temp hit points, you've still got this Winter's Heart, which is giving, 8 times wisdom. So we said that's 800 temp hit points. You can see there, dead on 800 there. So not to be sniffed at, and that's castable every minute, so you can just hit that before you go into a battle. Same for the Shard Storm, that's available regardless of gear. So between those two, some nice defences to be had, even if you don't want to be messing about swapping the weapons, which I could totally understand. It's a bit much for me, but I'm making it work, and I think we're doing okay with it. So a big thanks to those of you who've suggested that, and thanks for following the series. I hope you found it fun, and if you do happen to go and try yourselves as druids, especially if you haven't tried the class before, I hope you have fun with it. Hit me up with any issues or suggestions if you're a seasoned druid and you can see a glaring error or errors I'm making, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.